Merhaba arkadaşlar, hepiniz IEFT Talks webinarlarına hoş geldiniz. Bugün Study Wisconsin'den Amerika'daki program çeşitliliği ve sunduğu avantajları Jennifer'dan dinliyor olacağız. Lütfen sorularınızı sağ alt köşede questions bölümünden yönlendirmeyi unutmayın. Yes, Jennifer, the stage is yours now.
Thanks, Zenep, and it's nice to see all of you. Well, I can't actually see you, but it's nice to be here to talk with all of you this morning. I'm going to go ahead and share my email address right here in the chat right away. So if you have any questions at all afterwards, feel free to let me know. And I'm going to share a brief presentation with you. And then I'll stop the presentation and take questions, or, happy to answer any other things that you might need. So I'll just go ahead and share here, and keep your fingers crossed for me that everything with my technology works okay. Alrighty. Okay. All right. So I am here to tell you a little bit about Wisconsin and the study opportunities that we have here in this state. Again, here's my email address, just jennifer@wesley.com. I'll start with a little bit of an introduction about me. So I am the director of Wesley, which is an ESL institute here in the state of Wisconsin. But I'm really joining you here today on behalf of Study Wisconsin. I am the current chair of Study Wisconsin, which is a nonprofit organization that we have members that are language schools, high schools, community colleges, and four-year universities in the state. We kind of work together. So I'll share a little bit more about what we do with Study Wisconsin, and then talk to you a little bit more about Wisconsin and the study opportunities that we have. So to explain a little bit more about Study Wisconsin, we use this word consortia. And so Study Wisconsin is a consortium, but really you can think of it just like a membership and organization. Again, that we have high schools, language programs, community and technical colleges, universities, and continuing studies programs. So continuing studies programs are the ones that would have like certificate programs, short-term programs, and things like that. So we offer multiple pathways with a number of different guaranteed transfer programs. So you can see in the image below here that we have guaranteed transfer programs from language schools to high schools, or language schools to two-year colleges, language schools to four-year universities, and then the community colleges to the four-year universities. So hopefully, no matter where you are in that study path, we will have an option for you. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the highlights, but the hope is that all of these different options and pathways for you provide really affordable programs. And one of the things that we kind of feel very proud of here in Wisconsin is about the opportunity to really connect here in the local community, as well as find work on campus and after graduation. So I'll talk a little bit about that in just a bit here. But first, I want to share with you a little bit about Wisconsin. So Wisconsin is not a very well-known destination, maybe. It's possible that you've never heard of it before, but here's a little map here. And you can see Wisconsin is the green state. We are just north of Chicago in this part of the country that we call the Midwest. So we are kind of right in the middle in terms of size. So we're 20th largest state, which, there's 52 states. So we're right in the middle there. We're in the part of the country where we get 4 very distinct seasons. So if you see the pictures along the bottom that I shared with you here, you're going to see sort of depictions of each of these kinds of seasons. So we have really hot and humid and sunny weather in the summer. And then in the winter, we have snow and it's cold. And then the seasons in between, fall, where we have the beautiful leaves that change color, and spring, which we're kind of just ending here, which is when everything comes back to life after the winter. Wisconsin is known for a lot of agricultural exports, but two of the biggest exports we have, we're known as the dairy state. So we produce a lot of dairy. So think milk and yogurt and cheese. We are also known as the cheese heads. So I don't have it with me today, but sometimes you will see people wearing a big sort of cheese hat on their head, but it might look silly, but that's where it comes from. And then we're also the #1 producer in the country of ginseng. So we'll move on here so I can share with you a little bit more about some of the kind of global events that are hosted here in Wisconsin that you might have heard of. So I'll just start over here with Frank Lloyd Wright. So he is a world famous architect that you might have heard of. He's sort of the father of what they call the prairie style of architecture. And so because of this being his birthplace, we have very strong architectural programs here in the state. So if you're a student that's interested in architecture, there's a number of good programs for you to take a look at. We are also the home of the EAA AirVenture Festival. This takes place in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, where we have pilots and planes and sort of everything related to the air industry come together here in the summer for a week period of time. So if you're a pilot or somehow connected to the airline industry, you may have seen or heard about this, this world global festival before. I'll move over to the middle where we have the Harley-Davidson headquarters. So these are the motorcycles. I am not a motorcycle rider, but you will see them everywhere here. So the factory is here as well as a very cool museum. So even if you're not very into motorcycles, the museum is actually pretty cool to go and tour. We're also home of Summerfest, which is the world's largest music festival, which takes place over the course of a couple of weeks. Here in the middle, that's a small picture of it. So it's a very large festival right on the shore of Lake Michigan, which actually looks, it's like, we call it a lake, but it's like an inland sea. So it's quite large and very beautiful. And then in terms of sports, you may have heard of the NBA, the National Basketball Association. And here in Wisconsin, our team is called the Milwaukee Bucks. They actually won the national championship last year, and so we're quite proud of that. And our other big sort of national teams are the Green Bay Packers. That's our American football team. And the Brewers, which is our Major League Baseball team. So you can have opportunities to go to all of those sort of national sports events while you're here, if you like. You certainly will hear people talk about it. We are very proud of our sports teams here. And then lastly, we are also home currently to the CrossFit Games. So if you've heard of the CrossFit Games, those are actually here in Madison, which has certainly brought a lot of sort of global recognition to our city. And then finally, we have the World Dairy Expo. So again, I mentioned that we're well known for the sort of dairy industry. And so that global expo is here. So you get farmers and dairy producers from all over the world that come for a week in October. So you might be thinking, okay, as an international student, why would I pick Wisconsin? So Wisconsin in this last year had just about 11,000 students, international students come here. So, we are not the #1 destination. We are not New York or Florida or California, but we do get quite a few international students that come here to study. The top countries for us are China, India, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, and Vietnam. So unfortunately, the Turkish market is not in our top 5, but it does make our top 10. We get a lot of students that come here partly just because there's a lot of choice. So we have a lot of unique choices in both urban, right? So city or rural, more countryside environments. We are a state that is well known for excellent education, particularly in areas revolving agriculture, dairy, environmental sciences, hospitality and tourism, technology, and brewing. So we are some of the top brewing programs are here in the state of Wisconsin. Other reasons why students choose to come here is that it's a very safe place. And people are friendly. You know, it's the kind of place where you can walk outside on the street and, you know, stop and say hi to people and get to know people. We're very warm and like to, you know, get to know people. And so our goal is really that you find a home in your educational institution, your school or university, but that you also find your home within the community. That's something that's really important to us. And then a lot of times, you know, students are choosing us because we have really affordable tuition. So we'll talk about the prices and kind of average prices at the end of the presentation, as well as low costs of living. So the cost of living is about half what you would find in sort of the coastal areas of the United States. So going out to eat or public transportation or, you know, just getting around places is going to be a lot less expensive here than it is in other places. So a couple of other reasons why specifically for study, we find students come here to Wisconsin is what I mentioned in the beginning about choice and opportunity. So because Wisconsin is not one of the top destinations that students think about right away, it means that when you come here, you really will get that kind of one-on-one care and opportunity and access. So this could be in terms of internships while you're at university or your work opportunities after graduation. So here at the bottom, we've listed some of the major companies that hire our international students after graduation or provide internships while they are studying. And you will see there's a lot of finance institutions here. So Milwaukee is sort of a growing financial hub. You will also see a lot of manufacturing and technological companies. So you'll see Amazon, a Google headquarters actually just opened here in Madison. So a lot of different opportunities for students. One of the things that you've heard me say a couple times, right, is in terms of this choice and opportunity. And part of what this means is in terms of how we look at all of the different options for you to choose from our educational system. So we have quite a large educational system here in the state. There are 13 comprehensive universities. So these are the big 4-year universities. We have 13 two-year freshman, sophomore campus colleges, 23 private and independent universities, and 16 technical colleges. Now, I just want to make a quick note. This is true for us in the state of Wisconsin, but also true for other parts of the country as well. You may hear us use the term college. And for us here, it is the same thing as university. Community colleges, those are the 2-year institutions, but you can also have major 4-year universities that are called colleges. So for example, we have Beloit College, which is a very lovely, high-ranking 4-year university, except it's called a college. And so don't be kind of confused if you see the term college. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's only 2 years or that it's not a very high-ranking institution. It's important to do a little bit of research and digging. So in terms of all of those options for degrees, you're going to have the associate's degrees, your bachelor's degrees, your graduate degrees, as well as your certificate, right, for language studies and non-degree certificate programs as well. So I'm going to move on here to show you just a little bit more about the community and technical colleges. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of community and technical colleges here in the state. These are going to be your 2-year institutions. Some of the reasons why students choose them, they're very affordable. So you're looking at maybe about $5,000 or $6,000 US per year for tuition for a community or technical college. they will have guaranteed transfer programs after your 2 years of study to one of the major four-year institutions in the state. And so if you are a student that maybe didn't have really wonderful grades, when you are in high school and you're not sure if you're going to get into that top ranking university right away, a 2-year college might be a really great way for you to start, get your grades up, and then be able to transfer to one of the highest ranking institutions. A lot of times they have much smaller class sizes, so this is really good for support, and I think that transition into four-year university life here in the state. When we look at our four-year institutions, really, right, you have a variety of majors, of different types of campuses, different environments, different fields of academic life. And these are all going to be really wonderful paths for graduate studies if that's what you're looking for. Here are the list of the 13 University of Wisconsin campuses. So you may have heard of the University of Wisconsin-Madison, which is our largest, and they have about 50,000 undergraduate students, so it's quite a large university. But we also have 12 other University of Wisconsin campuses around the state. Each one of these kind of specialize in specific majors and areas. So if you have any questions, if you say, okay, Jennifer, I'm interested in studying engineering, and I think I want a University of Wisconsin institution, where should I go? And I might say, well, okay, University of Wisconsin-Platteville, they're sort of known for their engineering program. So that might be one that I would recommend taking a look at. Now, how do you choose, right, with all of these different options? And it's really important that you know what you are looking for. There are wonderful choices for every kind of student here in the state. So our job, I think, is to look and say, what is going to be the best fit for you? So you want to think about things like location, all right? Do I want to be in a big city, or do I want to be in a smaller town? You want to think about size. Do you want a very, very large university like the University of Wisconsin-Madison that's here near me, which, like I said, is about 50,000 students. It's huge. It's a city in itself. Or do you want a very small liberal arts school that may have 2,000 students at the university? You're going to want to think about, okay, what kind of programs am I interested in? Not all universities are going to be as strong in every program. So you want to know, what do I want to study? You might look at the type of institution. So is it a liberal arts school? Is it going to be a research-focused school? Or is it going to be a polytechnic school? The polytechnic schools really sort of focus on hands-on and practical training. And then, of course, right, you need to think about costs, right? So what can you afford? What is your budget, both for tuition and for housing? Maybe you're going to think about the availability for scholarships. Now, I think that these sort of things are true no matter where you go, right? These are a good thing to kind of sit down, talk about with your parents, with family, to figure out what is the best fit for me, and then look at your options from there. So again, these are just sort of a very brief list of all of the programs that we offer here in the state. Like I said, with over 50 institutions, you're going to have really a choice. The major that you want, you're going to be able to find here in this state. So we'll get to questions in just a second, but these are some of the sort of common questions that we see. So I wanted to just review them really quickly. The first one is, do students have the ability to work and study? The answer is yes. So students here that come to study can work up to 20 hours per week on campus. So if you are looking to work while you are studying here, that's something that you should talk to your potential schools about and let them know, I'm looking to work. What would my work opportunities be while I'm enrolled? Students can also work after they graduate. You might have heard of something called OPT, optional practical training. And depending on your major, this means that you have work authorization for either 1 to 3 years after graduation. One of the things that I think is really wonderful about schools here in the state of Wisconsin is that we have about a 90% work placement rate for our OPT for international students after graduation. So most students are getting placed in jobs that they want after graduation. A lot of people ask questions about the visa. So the visa process itself is not difficult, right? It is straightforward. All of the schools will be there to help you. We get a lot of questions about, what are visa acceptance rates? And I think it's really important that you talk to the individual schools about this. A lot of the feedback that we get is just making sure that students are prepared for the interview and they're prepared for their studies. So we're happy to talk to you more about that. And then tuition, right? How much is it going to cost? So on average, we have about a range between $7,000 US per year to about $20,000 US per year. And again, you're going to see a range, depending on the university and the location. We do have some universities that are, of course, more expensive than $20,000 per year, but we find that actually now a lot of them are offering scholarships for students as well. So what do you do now? Right? So contact me if you have any questions. And I will put here in the chat, I'm going to stop sharing my screen with you. And I'm going to put a few things in the chat, a few questions that you have. There we go. Can you see me now? I'm going to put a few links in the chat. The first link that I'm going to put in the chat here is our brochure. It's going to be an online brochure so that you can find more information and go through and click and find more information about the individual institutions. I'm also going to share with you here a link to our website, again, where you're going to find more information about our institutions and the state. And the last one I will share with you here is the link to our Travel Wisconsin. This is our tourism website. And the reason I share it here is because maybe you want to find out a little bit more, see more pictures about what the state looks like. So I think this Travel Wisconsin page has a great, great kind of lot of information so that you can see a little bit more about what our state looks like. Okay, so I am going to go over to the questions here and see if we can answer some of these. So a great question. So what is the starting average salary for a newly graduated student in Wisconsin? That's a great question. So the answer to this question is really going to depend on the area of study. So for example, if you are maybe in the finance world, or maybe you are starting as an engineer, in the state of Wisconsin, a recent graduate is probably going to earn between $50,000 and $70,000 starting salary. If you are in sort of maybe communications or journalism, maybe you're looking to start around $40,000 or $45,000. And then it varies in sort of business and technological fields. Those you could earn maybe a little bit more money and have on the higher range of this scale. But often this really depends also on where you live. So if you're going to be living in one of the major cities like Milwaukee or Madison, the average salary is going to be a little bit higher because the cost of living is a little bit higher. Where if you're going to get a job in maybe Green Bay or Platteville or Whitewater, the cost of living is lower, so the salary might be a little bit lower. Okay, so let's see. Moving on to the next question, weather. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, weather is totally depends on the time of year. So it's May, right? May 26th. We're at the very end of summer here, and maybe I could show you outside of my window. Actually, I'm going to take you on a little tour. Okay, so I'm in my office, and You can see here outside, it's green and a little bit overcast. It's pretty humid today. I think my hair's a little bit frizzy because of it. And it's maybe, I don't know in Celsius actually, but I think we're about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So pretty warm. And then in the not too distant future, in the next couple of weeks, we'll get a lot hotter. So it will get to about maybe 30 to 40 degrees Celsius. So pretty warm and pretty sunny. And then in the winter, so kind of November, really coming into December, January, February, that's when it's cold. It's really, really cold. So it might be, 0 degrees to minus 20 degrees Celsius and lots of snow. But yes, I know it's crazy, but I'm going to tell you, it's a wonderful time of year to be here. If you've never experienced that kind of weather, you'll have the opportunity to go skiing or snowshoeing. We go ice skating. So we take advantage of the winter and we do things as much as we can outdoors year round. Wisconsin's a pretty active state. We like to be active. We like to be outside. And we do that no matter the time of year or the time of weather. My favorite time of year is going to be kind of late September, October, early November. This is the time of year we call fall here, right, in the US. And it's when the trees all change color and it's beautiful. And we also get lots of really good food. So lots of our apple season is this time of year and pumpkin season. And so there's, delicious things to eat in this time of year in particular. All right, so let's see what next questions. What makes Wisconsin different than other states? So I think when you look at that in terms of study, for students, it's really going to be the number of opportunities you have for a very high ranking education, but at a low cost. That's something that you're going to see. You have more opportunities here than in many other states. People are also super friendly here, right? So I think if you meet people from Wisconsin, you'll go, oh, okay, yeah, people just want to talk to you and we like to, have a good time and get to know you and really want to learn about your culture. And so we are, we think about ourselves as a family, right? Here in Wisconsin and are excited when other people, move here and want to join that family. So I think, a good question would be maybe ask other people in the US, say, oh, what do you know about people from Wisconsin? And generally, I think they say, oh, it's really nice. It's just a nice place to live. People are friendly, a lot of very good work opportunities. So Wisconsin is always ranked one of the top in terms of this overall quality of living. So it means we have affordable housing, affordable things to do for fun, good jobs, secure jobs, and good levels of safety. Let's see. Scholarship opportunities. Yes, all of our institutions are going to offer some type of scholarship opportunity for international students. So sometimes these are what we call merit scholarships, which are based on your grades, which you might either get when you first enroll, or maybe you could earn after your first year or your second year as a university student here. But this is important to check with each individual university to see what opportunities are available for you. And career services. Yep, that's another great question. Every campus is going to have a very large career services center. I think I mentioned this, but just to reiterate, just to say again, making sure that our international students get internships and get job placements after graduation is really, really important for us. So I want you to have a wonderful education, right? I want you to come here and have a good time and learn. But that's only part of it. I want to make sure that after you graduate, you have amazing opportunities. And that's, I think, what we can really promise you here in Wisconsin, that you are going to have amazing job opportunities. And I think of all of, our former students that have been here at the language school and then move on. Some of them are doing absolutely incredible things now. Like we just had a student join the Harvard Business School, and he joined on a scholarship because he had such a great background. We have students that graduate to work with some of the major finance companies. They might move to London or Shanghai, right? And some of these other sort of big financial hubs, Toronto, for example. And so, yeah, I think that's something. All of the university websites should have some good highlights of the types of alumni that they have. So you can take a look and say, okay, these are the kinds of people who graduated. So for example, Marquette University, based in Milwaukee, they have wonderful law programs. And so we get a lot of people that graduate and become top lawyers or work in the government and that kind of thing. So again, it depends on the university, but I think one of the things that you will find in common across all of them is that we want to make sure that you have sort of those job connections afterwards. Okay, let's see. I think that is all for the questions. I don't know if anyone else has any other questions. I'll put in the chat here again. Let's see, make sure in the chat there aren't any questions here. Okay, so you have the links for the websites and things. I'm going to put my email here again. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. I'm also happy to connect you directly with the university. So, if you take a look at the website or you want to send me email saying I'm interested in this major, or, these are the things that I'm thinking about, I'm happy to make recommendations for what universities I think might be a good fit for you. And I'm happy to introduce you to those university representatives directly. So I think that's all I have for you. Zeynep, I don't know if you have any other questions or anything else. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful end of your day. It's just 10:30 here in the morning for us. So I know you guys are ending your day.
Yes, thank you very much for the amazing presentation, Jennifer. It was very informative for the attendees, and you covered all of the questions. Thank you for your answers too.
Wonderful. Well, thanks, Zeynep.
Also, I would like to thank the participants in Turkish as well. Katıldığınız için teşekkür ederiz arkadaşlar. Umarım sizin için de faydalı bir webinar olmuştur. Study Wisconsin ile ilgili diğer sorularınız için chat kısmında paylaşılmış olan mail adresinden Jennifer'a ulaşabilirsiniz. Aynı zamanda linkleri incelemenizde faydalı olacaktır. Bir sonraki webinarlarımızda görüşmek üzere. Thank you very much again, Jennifer. It was a pleasure to have you in IEFT Talks.
Thanks, Zeynep, and thanks, everyone. I hope to hear from you.
Take care. Bye-bye.